Chapter 9. Min Qingshi's face instantly turned pale. How could there be white fog? The white fog means that the foundation is clean. There is green under the white fog. It must be pure green, and it is easy to get high green. How? There are obviously small fissures that extend all the way to the inside. Yes, this is just an appearance. The jade inside must be all cracks. It must be like this. Even though he thought so, Min Qingshi's face was still pale, and his hands were shaking uncontrollably. Thinking of this, he glared at Xiao Ren fiercely. If it wasn't for this person's hype, how would so many people know about it? Xiao Ren saw Min Qingshi's eyes, and his heart slammed. It's broken. With this young Master Min's character, he will definitely get revenge on him. He lowered his head and sneaked away when everyone was not paying attention. Here, Master Wang is still dissolving the stone. He replaced the automatic stone cutter with a grinding wheel with higher precision and slowly wiped the stone along the foggy surface. Oh my god, it's up, it's ice. It hasn't reached the center yet, and the innermost is probably a rare glass species. It's hard to say. It doesn't count as an increase, it has to be cut up. After rubbing out a part of the jade, Master Wang observed it for a long time, and then used the automatic stone cutter to cut a few knives around the wool and cut off all the excess parts, and the outline of the jade began to be revealed. Now everyone consciously shut their mouths, watching Master Wang's movements intently, even breathing a little lighter. With the meticulous polishing, the complete jadeite is slowly displayed in front of everyone. The overall size of jadeite is only the size of an adult fist. It is a regular oval and weighs about 2 or 3 kilograms. The outer layer is lustrous, translucent, fresh, and refreshing ice seeds. The inner layer is a highly transparent, pure, and transparent glass seed. Master Wang is also the first time to unravel the top jadeite of the glass species. At this time, the hand holding the jadeite is trembling. He carefully observed this piece of jade. The interior was almost completely transparent. The texture was delicate, clear, and flawless, so pure that there was no trace of impurities. The light green color seeps into the interior, like a bud that has been washed by the rain. The rest of the people also opened their eyes wide to look at this piece of glass green jadeite. Their eyes were full of obsession, and no one made a sound for a long time. It wasn't until one of them couldn't resist bidding that the silence was broken. Little brother, I bid 4 million stars for this piece of glass jade. Sell it to me. I'll give out 4.5 million star coins. 5 million. 6 million stars. Such high-quality glass jadeite can be found but not sought after, and even if this piece of jadeite is not large, it has attracted people to bid wildly. In the end, the 2.68 kilograms glass verdant green jadeite was auctioned for a high price of 7.6 million star coins. Bai Jing quickly sold the jadeite. Looking at the rapidly increasing numbers on his account, his lips twitched. After the transaction, he walked up to Min Qingshi, who was pale and defeated, and said indifferently, "You lost. As for the 5 million star coins you promised..." Before Bai Jing could finish speaking, he was interrupted by Min Qingshi gnashing his teeth. "I know. It's only 5 million star coins, and I don't care." Oh my god, 5 million star coins. Some people couldn't help exclaiming when they didn't know the content of the bet. When everyone else looked at Min Qing with shocked and complicated eyes, some even whispered a few words. "I dare to gamble because this kid is a newcomer and can be bullied. I didn't expect that in the end. Stealing chickens won't make a profit. Hey, genius bet. Sure or something, that's all." Everyone's sneering or suspicious eyes were like loud slaps hitting him on the face, making Min Qingshi's face turn blue and white, and he was no longer arrogant at the beginning. It's over. Now his reputation is over. There are so many onlookers today, and the matter of betting on the best jade can't be concealed. And what he has done will also be publicized along with it. Thinking of the contempt in the eyes of the family and other stone gamblers, and even Gu Xiao's side, Min Qingshi could not wait to get into the crack of the ground immediately. The worst thing is that he doesn't have 5 million stars in his account at all. Wait me a moment. Feeling the eyes of everyone around him staring at him, Min Qingshi couldn't break his promise, so he could only bite the bullet and call his father Min Shang. He didn't dare to tell his father that he lost the bet. He only said that he liked a piece of A-grade wool that performed very well and needed star coins urgently. Min Shang scolded Min Qingshi fiercely on the phone, calling him unrestrained. But he only had this one son, so he still transferred star coins to him. Min Qingshi quickly transferred the 5 million star coins to Bai Jing and walked out of the Gu's woolen yard as if escaping. When he came to the street, he suddenly felt at a loss. How would he tell his father that he might soon become a laughing stock in the stone gambling world and even bring shame to his family. It's all the fault of that slum bastard, and it's all his fault for buying that piece of wool. If it wasn't for him, how could he have fallen to this point? There was a ruthless look in Min Qingshi's eyes. He would never let him go. After unwrapping the glass seeds, Bai Jing still had 2 pieces of wool in his shopping cart. Because the top-quality jadeite has just been opened, the onlookers have not dispersed, waiting for him to untie the remaining wool. Master Wang also smiled and pressed the button beside him, and saw that the indicator light in front of the door of room 15 suddenly flashed, which was particularly conspicuous, indicating that room 15 had released the soaring jadeite. Gambling stones is inseparable from luck, so people who gamble on stones also believe in fortune. When the lights are on, many people who plan to go to other windows to solve the stones come around. While waiting for Bai Jing gesture, the crowd gestured to the people who came over, including the bet between Min Xiao and this young man. How delicate, lustrous, clear, and flawless the glass seeds that were solved made other people excited. Bai Jing took out the piece of wool that he picked at random later. The wool material is very poor. The rough skin and the pine flowers on the outside are all connected together, and there is gray-black ringworm underneath, which makes people frown at a glance. Master Wang was still happy. He was very satisfied that he was able to solve a piece of top-quality jadeite from glass with his own hands today, and the business brought about by this surge would not be bad. He picked up the wool and placed it in front of the automatic stone cutter. After a few glances, Master Wang knew that there was a high probability that there was no jade in it. The wool itself is not big, and its performance is not good, so there is almost no suspense for the calcite master who has untied an unknown number of wools. Sure enough, after a few knives, all the stones that came out were white flowers. Now less than 1/3 of the wool remains. It can be said to be stable. Hey, it looks like I'm still a novice, and the quality of the wool I chose is very poor. Yeah, you can't get jade when you look at this wool. No, it seems that the glass seed just now was lucky. Nevertheless, this luck is against the sky. Seeing that this piece of wool was ruined, people sighed again and again, and they had no doubts about Bai Jing. However, he is a novice who doesn't know anything. I don't know what kind of luck I have taken, and it is really enviable to open a top-quality jade. Forget it, there's nothing to see. Most of the surrounding crowd left at once, but the people waiting for the solution did not leave, but instead lined up in a long queue. Master Wang saw that there was still a piece of wool in Bai Jing's shopping cart and said genially, "Are you still going to solve it?" Bai Jing shook his head gently. "I'm a little hungry now. I'll go have a meal first, and I'll come to you later." There was also jade in the last piece of wool, and he planned to wait for the crowd to disperse before returning to the calcination. "Then master, please explain me first." As soon as Bai Jing finished speaking, the person behind him stepped forward immediately, his tone a little eager. He is still waiting for the luck of the glass seed. It will be bad if the young man loses his gamble again. Bai Jing used his light brain to transfer 1,000 star coins to Master Wang. This is a custom in the stone gambling world. Whenever there is a big rise, Master Xiesher will be given a big red envelope. The balance displayed on Guangnao's account was 12.6 million star coins. Bai Jing's beautiful eyes were slightly curved. These star coins were enough for him to squander his whole life. He plans to buy a bigger house and store a room of food, and it would be better if the remaining star coins could buy a mecha. Thinking of the tall mechas that were more than 10 meters tall that he saw on the star network, Bai Jing's heart was filled with fiery heat. Although his genetic level is only D level, he is temporarily unable to drive a mecha, but it does not prevent him from wanting to obtain a mecha of his own, which is the dream of all men. Bai Jing came to the rest area and sat on the bench in the corner drinking nutrient solution. After drinking the 2 nutrient solutions, I finally relieved the feeling of an empty stomach. But when he was about to get up after resting for a while, he suddenly felt a strong dizziness, and his upright body instantly fell back to the bench. About 10 minutes later, the unpleasant dizziness slowly subsided. Bai Jing's entire back was wet with cold sweat, and he half leaned on the back of the chair and closed his eyes to adjust his rapid breathing. This feeling is stronger than when his ability reached the limit last time, but today he has not used his perception more than 10 times, and his body is much better than when he first came, so this should not happen. After his body recovered a little, Bai Jing got up with a dignified expression, intending to untangle the last piece of wool and go back immediately. The crowd in room 15 has dispersed, and only a dozen people are left watching the solution. Master Wang moved very quickly, and almost all the wool materials of the people who were in line were almost untied, and there were the last 2 pieces left. Seeing Bai Jing, Master Wang greeted eagerly, "Wait a moment, It will be ready soon. After waiting for about 20 minutes, Master Wang put the cut stone aside and picked up the last piece of wool that Bai Jing handed out. This piece of wool is about the size of a football. It is round and weighs 10 kilograms. It is a yellow sand leather shell, and the surface is covered with dot-shaped pine flowers. Master Wang observed the direction of the pine flowers and cut a finger thick along the leather shell, and with a single knife, it turned green. He drenched some water on the surface, revealing some rough-cut surfaces with obvious graininess, and it looked like grains of mung beans were arranged in them. It's a bean seed. It turned green with a single knife, which is really good. If you eat this green, the jade is not small. Little brother, how about selling this piece of wool for 30,000 star coins? If you don't eat this green, you will lose money. I'll pay 40,000 stars, sell it to me. Several middlemen who often buy wool saw business opportunities and made bids one after another. Bai Jing didn't agree. He used his perception to detect this piece of wool. Except for the slightly thicker leather shell, it was basically full of jadeite, definitely more than 40,000 star coins. Master Wang continued to dissociate the stones, using a cutting machine to cut off the surrounding waste rocks, and quickly disassembled a piece of bean seed young green jadeite with edges and corners, roughly estimated to be 6 or 7 kilograms. Bean seed jade is the middle and low grade of jade, and it is very common. In the jargon, there are 9 beans out of 10, which shows its extensiveness. However, this jadeite was evenly bright in color and large in size, and was finally sold at the price of 180,000 star coins. The people present congratulated Bai Jing. It is very lucky to be able to get such jade from the scraps, which is really enviable. Bai Jing walked out of the wool area. The suspended train arrived at the station soon, and he followed the crowd into the door. The weightlessness brought by the high-speed speeding made him dizzy for a while, and the body that had slowed down a little before became weak again for some reason, and his body was limp and powerless. Bai Jing's fingers gripping the armrest exerted force until the knuckles turned white, and the muscles on his arms were tensed to the extreme. In a state of half asleep and half awake, his keen perception made him aware of the crisis. Someone is touching his light brain. Bai Jing's eyes instantly became sharp as knives, and the inertia brought by the apocalypse made him agilely turn over from the armrest and kicked the tall man who came over. The man was kicked over by a sudden force, and his body didn't stop until the next carriage. When the next stop arrived, the man climbed up with difficulty, spat out a mouthful of blood, and flew out of the car while clutching his abdomen. Bai Jing was covered in cold sweat, trying to maintain his balance, and returned to his seat. He took off his glasses, his stern eyes were like knives, and he swept the surroundings coldly. The person who saw the eyes trembled involuntarily and immediately restrained his mind. The people who came out of the slums fought ruthlessly, or not? Don't provoke him yet. These people have been eyeing Bai Jing since they unraveled the glass-type jadeite, and they followed him all the way here when Gu Shi didn't dare to attack directly. Seeing that the young man was weak, they thought of taking the opportunity to make a move, but they were frightened by this kid's ruthlessness and did not dare to act rashly for a while. The speed of the suspended train was very fast, and in a blink of an eye, it arrived at the place where Bai Jing got off. Several people looked at each other and followed him out of the car door. If it was normal, Bai Jing would have kicked these weak chickens to the ground with one foot. But now his limbs are weak. He can only walk forward. He deliberately chose to get off the bus at the nearest stop to Gu's stone gambling shop, gritted his teeth, and walked quickly. There is Gu's property, and looking at the entire empire, no one dares to run wild on Gu's territory. Only then did a few people realize what he was thinking and hurriedly glanced at each other, but it was too late. They watched helplessly as the other party entered Gu's stone gambling shop, so they spit unwillingly and gave up the action. The lobby of the stone gambling shop was still full of people. Bai Jing leaned his entire back against the smooth wall of the door, his arms hanging softly by his side, constantly adjusting his breathing. Dong 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 dash, his heart was beating very fast, completely beyond the normal speed, and his temples were also beating constantly, throbbing and throbbing in pain. The noisy voice seemed to come from another world, and everything in front of him became blurred. If it weren't for the strong willpower that he had trained in the last days, he would have collapsed on the ground and unconscious.